Today I invite you to take a moment and connect a bit more to your heart. This sequence is taken from our Floga magazine, monthly issue of December. And my name is Ilona, and today I will be guiding you into this Yin Yoga sequence. So what you need prior to coming into your mat will be 2 blocks and 1 bolster. If you know that shoulders are quite sensitive, you can take a blanket as well. And if you're curious about the external sounds, we are now in my island, Mauritius, and you might hear the sounds of the birds around you. And if this is something that is calling your attention, just come back to your breath. Or, better yet, use these sounds to measure the amount of presence, release that you can have in your practice. So take a moment to come into an easy seated position. You could use both your blocks to create a little seated, higher seated position. So I'll use both of my blocks and then make myself comfortable onto my Sukhasana, making sure that I'm grounding through my sit bones. And when you come into a seat, before we go anywhere, just take a moment to drop the shoulders down. Release any tension may be present in the jaw, the shoulders, the chest, the lower back, and the legs. Using this time, this moment to dive in. Disconnect from the outer world and slowly turn into the inner world. As mentioned, this practice is aiming for us to connect a little bit more to our heart. Embrace connection with others. And therefore you may expect that we will go into heart openers, and that is the case. So my invitation is for you to also pay attention to the pelvis tilt as we come into these heart openers. Especially if you're someone that's very flexible in the lumbar spine and to the lower back, then my invitation is to pay close attention to how you're holding this part of your body as you open the heart and the position that will follow. And I will remind you of developing awareness and consciousness into these body parts, but also checking in with yourself. If any kind of alert or caution has been activated by me mentioning this, then just witness. And of course, in yin practices, as much as we can, we want to be able to be fully present without the mind escaping to other responsibilities elsewhere outside of what we're doing now. So as much as you can, using the breath to stay here and allowing the mind to stay free from being attached to any thoughts or any responsibilities that may be calling your attention. So within this initial pose, allowing the breath to take over your attention. And observe if you can allow the breath to descend all the way down into the lower part of the abdomen. Freeing even more any tension that may be present into the shoulder, jaw, and upper chest. And in your own time, just start to tilt your head to one side, releasing ear to shoulder, allowing a little space to be present in between your lips. Eyes are closed. And see if you can relax the opposite shoulder. So if you're leaning over to the right side, making sure that the left shoulder is released. Just a little longer, and if you wish to go deeper, you could always use the same side hand that you're leading to just be placed on top of the ear and add extra weight without pulling the head to the ground. And in this case, with my left hand, just extending palm of the left hand out and already deepening the stretch. Last few breaths. And gently releasing. Release the arm alongside the body if you used it. Allow the head to come back to neutral. And just taking a moment to center with 2 breaths. And your next exhale takes you over to the opposite side. Be gentle as you move in to any pose. And take time to find somewhat of a comfortable position. Again, you could just hang out there with your head being released towards the shoulder. Or you can deepen your pose by bringing the same side hand onto the head. And in my case, using the right hand to press away, deepening the stretch that is present also in my trapeze muscles. Finding your pose, making sure to release both of the shoulders. Relaxing the jaw. Once more, you can allow some little space to be present in between lips. Cut a little bit less than 30 seconds more. And very gently releasing the hand. If you feel like the head is heavy, especially after opening both sides, you could always help yourself to come up. Allow the head to stay neutral in between both shoulders. Closing the eyes. And of course, you're following this video, but you're also following my voice. And therefore, I would really invite you to keep your eyes closed as much as you can. And very gently, stepping down from maybe the props that you used. And we won't be needing the block just now, unless if you do not have a bolster, you can maybe take a block here. And I will place my bolster just in front. So I'm actually going to do it like this. My bolster just in front of me, in between my hands. And I'm going to extend the hands out, forward, making sure that I keep my hips in line with my knees. So we're going into puppy pose, melting heart pose. And we'll stay there for quite a little bit. So just sinking down onto the prop. And best actually is just to support the heart and not the head. Finding a comfortable position. And if you wish to practice without the bolster, then you can do so. And that will maybe be a challenge for the very flexible ones already, because you can access this position quite easily. But how can you keep the lower back neutral and allow the opening to happen in the chest more than into the lumbar spine? My advice here is to just micro tilt your pelvis down. So you're sure that it's keeping it neutral and that you're not pulling onto the lumbar. And two options, you can release the forehead down, elbows open sufficiently to have space for the shoulders, or you can have the chin ground. So keeping the position for another 2 minutes, making sure that there's no tension in the shoulders. And if there is, take a moment now to release. We're a little bit over halfway through. So if you'd like to remove the bolster and try to come into no support, melting heart pose, feel free to do so. Allowing the breath to be fluid at all times. Great. Few last breaths. And very gently start to deepen your breathing. If you planted the chin, come back to the forehead and very gently, shoulders are soft. Start to press into the hands. Walk your hands back. Bring your big toes to touch and press your hips back to the heels, coming into your child pose. If needed, you could always use a block to bring the ground a little closer to the forehead. And if not, just grounding the forehead down, allowing the elbows to open to the side. Taking about 3 breaths here to center, to integrate the heart opening. See if you can breathe just a little bit more with the middle part of the spine. And if you do open your eyes from time to time, and I'm not in the position, I would just like to explain that for recording purposes, sound purposes, I may move out of poses from time to time, but that is not something that you are required to do. Great. And very gently, start to extend both hands forward. Hands are open to hip width, to shoulder width. And then you will take the right hand over to the right outer edges of the mat. And the left hand will come on top of it. The left armpit looks down. And once more, release the forehead down, either directly to the mat, either onto a block. And make sure to press the hips back as you reach the fingertips to the front. And we'll stay in this pose for about 3 minutes. So for now, don't go to the full possibility. Don't go to your 100%. Maybe to your 80. And with time and breath, we allow ourselves to find more depth. While in this child pose, side stretch, invitation to breathe just a little bit more with the left lung, left side body. Observing how through each of your breaths you can sense the spaces in between the ribs expanded. And you will see some attention to the back part of your body. Because when we speak about heart openers, it's not only the front part of the body, but to the same degree that we have the heart to the front, we also have it to the back. Exactly to the same degree. And therefore it's important to expand in all directions, right? The 4 directions, forward, backward, right to the right and to the left side. So feeling the expansion of the heart in all 4 directions. Good. Last minute in this pose. Maybe this is your cue to go a little deeper and have the hands come and move out a little bit further towards the right side and even maybe lengthening them a little bit further forward. Make sure to keep the left armpit turned down and to relax the left shoulder. And very gently deepening your breath. In your own time, allow both arms to open back to shoulder width, elbows to bend, and the crown of the head to come back to a neutral position. Spine is neutral. Take it a couple breaths here to center. And as you breathe in, extending left hand towards the outside edges of the mat on the left side. And in your own time, having the right hand come over it. Forehead descending. Released onto the mat or into a block. Making sure that both elbows are lifted from the mat, but the shoulders are relaxed. And same thing, I invite you not to go to the 100% yet, but to allow time to kind of takes you there. Feeling the rib cage over to the right side expanding. Maybe you feel it all the way to the back body, in between the discs, in between the vertebrae. As you breathe in, it expands. As you breathe out, it contracts. Last minute here, if you'd like to go a little deeper, now is your time to do it. I always give option, but it doesn't mean that you have to take them. And if your thoughts are taking you away from what you're doing now, then use your breath to gently draw yourself back to what you're doing here and now. Start to deepen your breathing. So gently, in your own time, take your hands back to both sides, allowing the spine to come back into neutral. And when your body is ready, coming up and meeting me into an old four position, where you want to have the knees open to the width of the hips and the hands open to the width of the shoulders. And we'll start by bending the elbows a lot so we can turn the back of the hands to the ground. And my suggestion is, first of all, to bend the elbows a lot and then gently start to extend it to find a point where you can still breathe, but where you can also feel and experience the stretch in the wrists and in the lower arm. We won't stay here very, very long, but if you're one of those persons that have a lot of flexibility into the lumbar spine, then keep your navel lifted gently to not compress the lower back. About 30 more seconds to go here. And maybe going just a little bit more into it, extending the arm. And on your next breath out, gently bending the elbows. Placing palm of the hands down. And in your own time, rolling all the way to the belly, extending the legs back, and coming into a laying down position. Directly, I invite you to extend the right hand out towards the right side. Shoulder and hands stay on the same line, so the hands is placed onto the same line as the shoulder. I will look towards the left and place the right cheek onto the mat. Some of us, depending on how tight but also strong we are into the upper body and the shoulders, we may need a block, so I would recommend that you keep a block close by in the case of you needing it. And once you've done this, placing the right cheek down, gently rolling onto the right side body. Option 1 would be to stay here, and option 2 would be to place the left foot down behind you. And option 3 would maybe be to have the hand, in that case the left hand, come to the lower back. So taking your time to settle in the pose, moving slowly, making sure that you're keeping the hand in line with the shoulder, the fingertips of the right hand relaxed. Your jaw is relaxed, and you can maybe use a block to support your head here. This position should feel like you're expanding through the chest each time you breathe in. And also gentle pressure is applied onto the shoulder, and therefore shoulder is gently opening more through each breath out. Cultivate your breath. Allow the softness of each exhale to release yourself a little bit more to the earth. The weight of the body is heavy. About last minute in this position. If you wish to go a little deeper, you could always have both knees lift, and the right knee meets the left knee and the right foot meets the left foot, and both feet come down flat to your mat. And that would be definitely taking it further into the heart opener. But maybe sometimes it's not even needed. And if you're able to stay present to the full expression of the body right now, then that is enough. Last few breaths. And gently start to deepen your breathing. Extend the right leg if you bent at the knee. Bring your left hand back down to the mat if you brought it elsewhere. And gently rolling out. Keep your right arm open and just turn the gaze to face the right hand. About 4 breaths here in order to center. Moving slowly. We have time. And very gently start to open the left arm out. If you use your block, you're going to use it again, most probably for this side. So keep the handy close by. Making sure that the left hand is on the same line as the left shoulder. When you're ready, bring the right hand to the next to the right shoulder and gently, gently roll into the left side body. Making sure that your hips is not too out of line compared to where the chest and the shoulders are. So we want to keep somewhat of a line, and that may require, for some of us, to move the hip a little bit further towards the right side, so we keep the line. And in other case, might require you to move a little bit back, but it is rarely what I see. And option 1, you can just stay there. Option 2, you can bend. In that case, the right knee, right foot down. Option 3, breathe in the right hand to the lower back. Make sure to release the jaw, the head, the shoulders, and the chest. And once more, we'll spend some time in this pose. So make sure that you are comfortable and that there is no pain arising. The only pain that we are allowing ourselves to practice with is the one from the fascia, from that interconnected web that we may understand it as a skin, that slowly extend, and by extending breaks its connection, its lubrification that is present in between the web. But that is also, as many study also shows, where trauma is held. And that's why practicing yin yoga is not just a physical benefit, but it's much more than that. And actually, a lot of people practice it for emotional release. And if at any point, especially when we work heart and hips, emotions arises, laughter, contentment, tears, then allow them to be felt, allow them to be seen, because that's one part of the magic of yin. Last few breaths here. If you would like to go deepen, now is the time to do it. And of course, general benefits, such as helping us to sleep, to restore, to create more mindfulness, and to invest a bit more into the yin part of us, the restoring part of us, which may be in lack, and your digestion will let you know. The parasympathetic nervous system is called the rest and digest for a reason. But also just the mind and the need to also sometimes be alone, rest. Gently start to deepen your breath. In your own time, extending your legs out, bringing your right hand back to the mat if you took it elsewhere. And gently rolling back down to the body, to the belly. Keeping your left hand open, but just turning the head, removing the block if you used it, towards the left hand for a few breaths before moving on to our next asana. Good, and very gently breathe your left hand overhead and then just roll into your back. Once you arrive to the back body, you can have the bolster or you can have the blocks, or you could use both. And I would invite you for now to bring the bolster towards the right side of the mat. Open the arms out in a T shape, and if there is no space, you could always cactus them, though that might lift the lumbar spine, and that's not what we want. So we want to keep the lower back grounded. Allow the knees to rise, the feet to stay on the same line as the feet, and then crossing over with the left knee above. And if you want to double hook, then you could also have the left toe come under the right ankle. And once you've done this, taking your hips a tiny bit over to the left side and gently dropping the knees towards the bolster or the block, and deciding on the height that you want to create with your knees. And depending on how high or how low I place my knees, then I will modify where I'm experiencing the twist from. You could keep your gaze up to the skies, even though the eyes are closed, or taking it over towards the left side. And as you breathe in, just observe how much space you can create. I really enjoy to see my hips being pressed down and my chest being pressed up, so there is length happening in the spine. And when I breathe out, I like to feel that my twist deepens. So we will just practice about 3 minutes on each twist. But you're very welcome, if you're practicing, if you have the Floga edition, to practice them longer, up to 5 minutes. Making sure that your shoulders are relaxed, that you're breathing into the twist, supporting and assisting this twist in the spine. It's quite a deep twist, this one, and if you would like to be a little bit less deep, you can always help your knees to be held a little higher, or maybe unhook one of your hooks, not going with the ankles and the foot, but just with the knees, or then no hook at all and just knees together. Right about last minute here. Breath is slow, soft, but deep as it remains relaxed. Slowly deepening your breath. As you breathe out, gently allow the knees to come up to neutral and cross your knees. Take a moment to either squeeze the knees to the chest or place the feet down. And then as you next breathe in, taking the knees up, feet off of the mat. Having the right knee come over the left knee. Bolster being shifted to the other side or blocks, depending on what you use. Double hook or single hook. And in your own time, taking your knees over to the right side. Right, no. Wrong side. Knees taken over to the left side. Got confused with the videos. Left side, you were right. Palm of the hands facing down. Gazing in direction of the right. Take the time to land into your pose. Maybe to gaze up if you're feeling too much stretch happening into the cervicals. And once more, every time you breathe in, feeling that length happening in the spine. And each time you breathe out, feeling that contraction of the body, deepening the twists. Last 2 minutes in the pose, making sure you're comfortable. Nowhere to be but here and now. If you'd like to go deeper, now would be a moment to do so. Maybe removing a prop. And gently start to deepen your breath. Slowly bring your legs back up to neutral as you breathe out, releasing the tangle of the legs, the hooks. Taking a moment to release the legs long in a micro shavasana. And when the time is right, rolling into the right shoulder, rolling onto the right side, helping yourself up to come into a seated position. And we'll have one more pose before our restoring moments, and you may need your props. So I invite you to have them close by, to open your legs to the width that makes sense for you, and to place the props, maybe the 2-block, the bolster in front of you. There's different ways that you could use the bolster. You could also have it standing so you can have a bit more support, or otherwise leaning in front of you, maybe using blocks if needed, as you surrender onto the supportive prop. Make sure that your knees are looking up and your toes are looking up. And we're going to stay about 5 minutes in this pose. So few options is to bend the knee if this is too much. And if you feel like you are being pulled back from the lower back, then use one of your blocks to sit on and assist you with the pelvis tilt. Yeah, so pelvis tilt happen within the pelvis area, not with the knees. So you always want the knees to look up, right? And if you want it to go deeper, because that's not enough for you and you have very flexible legs and lower back, you could come into the other option, which is the tortoise pose, which is to have the hands come underneath the knees. As you extend your legs out, you release all the way down. Right, and in that case, maybe you use some support with the props or maybe not. When you come into either poses, take a moment to relax your toes on both sides, to relax the knees and to make sure that your calf muscles and your quads muscles are relaxed. We're already halfway through. So just taking the time now to ease yourself deeper into it as you breathe out. And observe that with time, the body opens, the body releases. Aim to pull the navel deeper in direction of the earth. Got about 30 seconds to go in this position. Really use them rather than getting excited of moving out. But just embrace what you're doing. Right? If you showed up this today on your mat, there's a reason that you did that for. The best way we can support ourselves is to honor what we're doing while we're doing it. So honor the present. Very gently start to deepen your breath. To gently moving slowly, coming into a seated position. And in your own time, we'll move into our Supta Baddha Konasana pose, supported reclining butterfly pose. And you could use the bolster depending on the length of the bolster, or you could use your 2 blocks. I will show you how I use my bolster, but maybe it's better for you to use the blocks, again, depending on the length of the bolster. But as you can see, mine is sufficiently long enough so I can keep the sole of the feet together, support my knees as I come down into the reclining pose. And one thing that I see often within releasing pose, Shavasana pose, is this, what I'm doing right now with the lower back, and it's the arch. And what we want to do is to really make sure that we can have a neutral pelvis as much as we can. And again, bringing this idea of length in the spine by having the space from the navel down, pulling downward, and the space from the navel up, pulling upward. So having my spine being very flat and releasing shoulder blades, the space in between shoulder blades, palm of the hands up, knees supported. So there is no pull happening in between the 2 hip bones, right? No pull. This area is relaxed. And if it's not the case, then you may want to use your blocks so you can support them a little higher as well. Otherwise, surrender. Eyes are closed. Gently allow for little space to be present in between your lips. Allow the breath out to slowly make your body heavier. Eyes are closed if it's not already the case. Lower and upper jaws are relaxed. And the space in between the eyebrows is slowly melting to the ground. And your full body is completely released. Your body is completely relaxed. Your body is completely relaxed. The breath is flowing easily in and out. The body is spacious. Your mind is spacious. And I invite you to stay in this resting pose for as long as you need. And if for any reason you now need to go, then we have finished our 15-minute practice. And I thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.